Welcome to the Masterclass. We're excited to have you here today. It is December 8th, and this is our 12th official Masterclass of the season. And in many ways, saving the best almost for last year with Trey Ketcham. I think you're going to get a lot out of today's session. Now, Trey Ketcham told me yesterday that he was at 1,011 recruits for the year. When we checked on tabs, I've got 965, so I'm hoping we can figure out the discrepancy there. But apparently the all-time record for recruits in one calendar year was in 2012, set by a Western manager, by the way, David Madrid, and that is set at 1,055. So I don't even know if Trey was gunning for that one necessarily, but it looks like with a few recruiting weeks left here, we're going to have a new record breaker for a recruiting perspective. So we're real excited to have that. Trey has been a division manager for a number of years. He's one of the youngest division managers that we've ever produced. Trey has basically become synonymous with recruiting. He's the king in this area, and there really is no greater expert that we could bring out to you for the master class. In fact, when you think about master of masters, this is one of the Grand Jedi masters that we have, and that is Trey Ketcham. So, Trey, I'm going to go light on intro and just let you go ahead and just get going here. It'd be like me trying to introduce Brad Pitt or something. Everybody knows who you are. So, very grateful for you during a very busy season. You just launched 32 last week, taking a few moments to come and talk to us here today. So without further ado, let's give him some jazz hands. Trey Ketcham.
All right. Thank you, Trent. I appreciate it. And I'm hoping to kind of just dig in and unpack my SLC message just a bit for you, because I was talking with Trent in preparation for this message and said, you've given a kind of a version of a recruiting talk for the last probably 6 or 7 years at SLC. And I feel like I have been in the business for a long time, not as long as Jason Flynn. He's real old, but I've been in the business for a bit, and I think I'm just a little jealous. Jason's got just fantastic hair still. As you look, some of the older guys, we're shaving it down, doing some work, we're doing some other things to kind of protect. Meanwhile, Flynn,
I mean, it's really its own character in the narrative, isn't it? It is strong,
man.
Look at that,
so pretty. He is like a vampire, though. Just keeps looking younger. Yeah, Bellander fired his hair for underperformance. So, well, I am excited to talk a little bit about how to scale your business in a big way, and talk a little bit about the philosophies that I have for building a big organization. We've had an amazing year. I was talking with our districts this morning, and I'm honored to share some of the thoughts that we have as a division right now. And coming from a year ago, this same week that we just finished, we did $65,000 in business as a division with, I think it was somewhere in the neighborhood of like $20,000 in new. We just finished last week, $58,000 in new as a division, so almost triple what we did a year ago, and $135,000 in total business as a division. And so up over 100% versus a year ago as a division. In the pilot, a year ago, we did a whopping $2,400 in new business and $40,000 in total. We just finished last night at like 77, might be 78,000 once one of the people comes transfer back into our office. But so somewhere in the neighborhood of like 78,000 as an office. And so it's a really exciting time to be in the business, and even more exciting if you're a big recruiter. And when the world was shaken up and our vector world was shaken up back in March, we had a decision to make. And the decision was either to kind of wait and see or to run towards the storm. And one of my favorite analogies is that of the buffalo, which is that when the storm comes, rather than running from the storm like cows do, they run towards it, and they run through it to get to the other side where there's greener pastures and sunny conditions. And I really want to commend all of the forward thinkers in our business that helped during this time. We've changed a lot. Things have been kind of crazy over the last years. I remember doing my Changing Knives, Selling Lives podcast with Dan Cassetta, and right in the middle of the thing, my wife walks down and she's like, Apex just crashed again, and so it's right in the middle of our podcast. So if you hear this kind of 10-second pause and gap in Dan and I's podcast is because all hell broke loose right in the middle of it, and Dan's like, "You need to take that," and we were kind of like, we fixed it, got it back on, we came back with the podcast, but needless to say, shit was crazy back in March, and nobody knew what exactly was going to happen. But because of the community that we have, because of the great leaders that we have, we were able to come up with some pretty cool products, which I think we'll look back at 2020 being maybe quite possibly not from an income standpoint, because it definitely has been that, not from a CPO standpoint, because it has been that, but from a quality of life and excitement in the business, arguably the greatest year in the history of vector marketing. And it's kind of ironic that in the year that we're having such an amazing experience, we lost or have lost our founder, Eric Lane, and I've got a picture actually of me, Eric Lane, Jason Flynn, and Jake Bailey at my very first SLC, sharing a beer, as Eric was fond to do, and it's almost like he is seeing where we've come as a company and said, you know what, my job here, my time here is done. My time here is my job has been accomplished. It is time to pass the torch to the next future leaders in our organization. And so may you rest in peace. I know he's looking down, smiling upon all of us. And it's been so cool to kind of see what his baby has done. And he was at an inflection point many, many years ago when shit hit the fan with the business as well, when the company had pulled out of other ideas, and the parent company had said, you know what, we're going to pull the plug on this whole crazy knife thing. It's run its course. And he said, no, we're going to make this happen. He went all in, leveraged everything he had the wife put up the fur coat as collateral, and was like, let's do this. And all of us on this call, whether you were a brand new manager at the time or a veteran, like many of us are, we did kind of the same thing back in March. We went all in. We had an opportunity to shut down, to wait and see, to take what we held as deep-seated beliefs, which is that people have to be in person. We have to be together. People have to cut the rope and the leather, and man, they have to see it and hold it and use it in order to sell our great product. And we kind of said, you know what's the worst that happens if we go full bore on this, run into the storm and see what happens. And luckily things have been pretty damn exciting for us as a company. And those that did go all in and ran towards the storm instead of running away have reaped the rewards in a big way. And our pilot organization is certainly a great example of that. Showing the reports. I know that, tabs, I guess maybe sometimes tabs reflect somebody getting transferred out. I do feel like sometimes I'm helping recruit for other organizations on a weekly basis, because we have so many damn people that as soon as we hit the button launch, it's like, oh, there goes some people. We'll help you and get you transferred. But it was fun knowing you for a couple of days. According to Vector Live, these are the current standings for the year with regards to training touches. And you'll see in our Northeast Atlanta pilot organization, we had 2,800 people scheduled for training. So, a cruise ship full of people scheduled for training, 1,400 show, and launched, according to this, 1,049. We've got 2 more launches for the year. We'll take Madrid and his Vivin ass out of the record books, in due time. And he'll be out here in just 1 week's notice.
Rest in peace. That's great.
Yes, good idea to leave. But we'll have somewhere in the neighborhood of probably 200 people set for training on the 15th and 16th. We currently have 100 set. We've got an interview later today with 50 set, another one tonight at 50 set. We've got 2 interviews the rest of this week. So we should break it by next week. And then I guess we have one more launch coming up. But it's funny, when we started down this path, the goal was never to launch 1,000 people. The goal was just, hey, can we just do what we've been doing? Can we just launch? Can we create a business where it is able to sustain itself until this COVID thing runs its course, and then after we started running it, it was kind of like how it went when we originally went to 2-day training. We got a taste of how awesome life was on the other side, and it was like we're never going back. And so I'm sure for those of you that probably know the old school way of recruiting and in-person interviews versus our current reality, it's pretty awesome, isn't it? It's pretty fantastic, being able to be in gym shorts and be professional all at the same time. And I can always tell who's by the grins that I see who's professional up top but party on the bottom. And I tell my training class that every week. Hey, just make sure you're wearing something, because I don't want to get a call from corporate because you forgot to plug in your laptop or your cell phone and you have to stand up. So make sure you're wearing something down low. But you can be professional up top, chill on the bottom. It was really cool this summer to be able to go from running an interview personally, because I ran interviews personally this summer, directly to running an SLDM, directly to then doing conference call with my district managers, one-on-one calls with them, directly to doing some confirmation calls, and then, oh, by the way, still have plenty of time to go to date night at 6:30 with my wife. It was fucking awesome. I mean, I just can't say any other way. It is really, really, really cool to be able to operate the business in its current position. And for those of you that are district managers, you're kind of getting a taste of kind of how it can be sometimes as a DVM, where it's like, what are they doing all the time? There's stuff to do. Trust me, your DVMs do a lot of stuff. They're busy, but it is easier to kind of operate that without having that need to have to go in and have that gap time before and after every function. I mean, it's very simple to hit end and then rejoin, and then all of a sudden you got a brand new operation that you're running, or a brand new enterprise taking place, brand new function happening. So it's been really fun. I think we all can agree that the quality of life has definitely gone way up. The ability to go get other things done, and I want to acknowledge that, yes, there are some people really struggling with this kind of Zoom world that we've been in, and there's higher instances of depression and other things going on in society. But I think as a Vector people, we have more camaraderie than ever. I'm more interconnected with my district managers and branch managers now than I've ever been. I see them more than ever. I see my leaders' development more than ever, because it's just so easy to hop online together. It's so easy to connect. It's so easy to get people to functions. Man, I mean, it's so easy to run a function, in mass. I mean, think about, we had training seminars. I mean, I was talking with our my staff last night. We're going to have 100 people in training next week. The amount of preparation that would go into getting 100 people in front of you, Phil knows what I'm talking about. For those of you that have run the January program, Jeremy knows what I'm talking about. I mean, you're renting a friggin' hotel. You're showing up days before Christmas to get everything put into this room, make sure everything's perfect. You've got to coordinate people getting there from a location to a different location. You've got proctors, you've got runners, you've got, we called them bouncers, that were basically standing at the door to make sure that, like, there wasn't some sketchy kid coming in with like flyers to pass out to people. I mean, you have to worry about now the Zoom bomb. Back in the day, it wasn't a Zoom bomber. It was the neg ball that would stand up and raise their hand and say something. You don't have to worry about that now. It's so easy to mute them. It's so easy to kick them. It's so easy to not even let them in, right? It's like you see a weird name, you don't let them in. It's a glorious, glorious business. And it's also kind of cool for our newer managers that maybe need some help to be able to partner. I'll never forget, one of our new district managers was just really struggling with this new virtual world. And I said, why don't you just hop on with training with me this week? Let's just run it together. We ran it together. He was like, he got done. He's like, dude, that was so easy. I'm running the rest of this shit myself. And he went in and he's having his best fall. His fall is going to beat his summer. He's got 5 branch managers that are going out now. And that wouldn't have been possible in the old model. I would have had to drive 3 hours down to go to his territory to visit with him, to have one of those tough conversations in person, where now it's just, hey, hop on Zoom with me. let's get some time. And then, by the way, bring your people in for training with me. We'll run this thing together and we'll debrief afterwards. It's awesome. And so none of, I think this year would have been possible at this level had it not been for the necessary changes that we had to make as a company. And I think it's going to be pretty exciting for everybody moving forward. So there's my little rant about why I love why we're doing or what we're doing. So so as we get into the big topics, I want to start with, how do you have a schedule set up for success to create big recruiting in your organization, where even if you don't have a lot of help, even if you don't have a lot of people to build with, because I'm going to share what we're doing right now in the pilot, and it's intense. I'm talking, as we speak, in another Zoom room, we have 10 SMRAs working. We'll have 12 SMRAs working today. We have 25 SMRAs currently on staff. We have 10 assistant managers on staff. And before, for those that are kind of the financial gurus, before you start thinking, oh my gosh, how much is he spending? I'm paying out less than 10% in office overrides. I think I'm paying like 8.5. I'm paying, I think my payroll last week was less than $1,000, maybe just over $1,000, because not all 25 SMREs worked, and most of them worked 5 hours or less. So I'm going to show you something. He doesn't have to spend a lot of money to get this. And talking to Adam Stott, he said that, our operation is one of the most profitable operations in all of vector marketing. So it's not like I'm spending the money to get the business. This is really intentional to get the business. And as a division manager, I firmly believe that my pilot office is my major profit center as a business owner. So, I never want to look to my district managers as being profit centers. They're partners that we're building together to create something special. And I want them creating mini divisions and viewing their pilot in their district as a profit center. And the way that happens is big time recruiting and big time development. So recruiting big time, and then developing people to go out and do what you're doing on a consistent basis. So I'm going to show you the schedule where, even if it's small, you can start there and be able to build big. And then once you get it big, where do you start putting the pieces in? Because I found that sometimes that's the shift that's hard. It's like, okay, now that I've got me doing everything, how do I give up control and still have it happen where I'm replicating myself, and I'm not just kind of like churning and burning until the next time I have to go back in there and do everything again. So, so we'll start with that. As a recap from my message over SLC, these are really the key points of scaling this bad boy big. And it first starts with just being all in. And I made this comment during SLC, but I've kept this little ripped up $5 bill in my glove or my change compartment of my car since probably a week or two after I got the car. I found this in a parking lot. I was kind of excited because I saw, $5, what I thought was a $5 bill. I went and picked it up, and I realized it was only half a $5 bill, and I almost threw it away. But as I was about to just kind of throw it back on the ground, I realized, you know what, this is a great reminder for myself that you can't do anything halfway. And if you do something halfway, it isn't worth much. And I found that for a lot of district managers and really people in general, whether it be in the gym, whether it be in life, whether it be in their relationship, whether it be in their businesses, they do what most people would say is enough, but enough doesn't really get you what you want. Enough doesn't make you happy, doesn't make you fulfilled. If you want to really reap the marrow of life, you got to go all in, and you have to go all in with everything you do. You got to go all in your relationship. You got to go all in your fitness and health if you want to get the results and the gains. You got to go all in your business, and part of that means that you got to go all in for yourself, like with hours. But part of it means sometimes you got to go all in with your people. Like there's times when you can step away and go do stuff, but because you've gone all in with your people and helping to develop them to become the best version of themselves, you don't have to do it all, and it still gets done in a big way. And it actually feels like you're working less, but getting more results from it. So that would be the first point. I just think that you got to go 100% all in if you really want to get the gains that we're referring to here. And then the other things that really matter are the social media program, the messaging program. And this is not a sometimes thing. I know, there's a big thrust for Facebook Jumpstart and Instagram Jumpstart and social media Jumpstart to launch certain campaigns. But for us, it's year round. And we had one of our biggest launches was like the middle of October this year, which is traditionally a pretty terrible time to recruit because it's in the middle of the campaign. There's not much going on. There's no push getting things exciting, and it just happened to work because I got serious about getting back onto these programs right after SLC. I was talking all this, but we weren't doing it. So let's get back to doing it. Massive staff PR set, and I'll share our numbers so you guys can see them and what our expectations are so you can see them, as well as what I expect for our new office managers. And then the power of the big three and how quickly can you get U+2 as a leader. For veterans that are on the call or for pillars or DVMs, this would be something I think that, sharing this concept with your staff and your pilot to say, look, this can get done in a big way without you necessarily having to do a lot of it, I think is big too. And so that first concept was compounding efficiency. And rather than showing you the stats from the summer, what I do want to go back to do is show these training touches one more time so you guys can see what I'm referring to here. And you'll notice ultimately we did have more schedule than other people. It was a good chunk more than other people. But on a week in, week out basis, it really wasn't. Most cycles, most weeks, it didn't happen where we had a lot more set than everybody else did. I made it that to be our mission, but what I want you to notice is the efficiency difference. The difference between getting a 40% show and a 50% show, what that puts in front of you, and the separation it creates. And then the big difference for us has been our launch. And getting a 70+% launch percentage, even with the current virtual world, has enabled us to that was where we separated. And these are, as you notice, we almost doubled the next closest office in number of launches. And there were some other efficient organizations that were able to get close, but it wasn't, again, that we had, double or triple necessarily the number of people set. And so if you're thinking about what should be a good estimation, it's really, you should launch one every 3 people you have set for training. And however you get to that number is fine. And then just drive that set number higher. And if you're really good, you can get even higher than that. You can get one every 2.5 set or something like that. And what our focus has been in the pilot is how do we get to one every 2 set? So if we have a 200 set for training, how do we launch 100 of them? That's what we're working towards right now. If we have, 80 set for training, how do we launch 40 that week? But compounding efficiencies are key. And so just being intentional about each portion of the recruiting model is key. The second part was the power of the big three. And, and this has been something where for years it's been a focus, but these 3 individuals this year were the difference makers. Sean Walker, who won the Silver Cup for AM team building 2 years ago. He's number 1 again this year. He's got about a $20,000 lead. I was talking a little trash to him last night at the staff meeting. I said, dude, there's somebody only 20 grand behind you. You better not let them sneak up on you in the last 3 weeks and take your cup. Happened to you last year. And he's like, no, not happening. I'm going to get on it. And what makes his story so cool is that he doesn't, this isn't his full-time gig. He's got a tax consulting business that he does where he helps some of our managers with their taxes. He's worked as an actuary, or sorry, not an actuary. He's worked as an assurance adjuster for Ernst & Young. And then also he worked for the Intercontinental Exchange, which owns the New York Stock Exchange. So he's got a full-time career. This is just something he does because he loves the people, loves the camaraderie. So who can you enlist to become a warrior like that for you? And maybe you don't have somebody like a Sean, but can you find somebody else that just really loves people and loves travel and wants to be around? And if you need to overpay him or her to help, do it. It might be for you, instead of it being, an assistant manager, maybe it's your lead SMRA. And this is somebody that you take care of and create a package for her where, she's getting an extra $10,000 a year, but creates 150,000 CPO for you. We had 4 SMRAs this year that each created over 100,000 new business CPO for us when we tracked out all of their people that they personally recommended. My wife, Caitlin, who's been with the business and for several years now, ran a kick-ass branch. She's leading our divisional SMRA program for this upcoming year, but she still makes sure to get her PR set. She'll sell $150,000 this year. And again, maybe you don't have this right now, but none of these individuals were there right now. Sean was by his own admission, kind of a failed branch, did not sell a lot, but I didn't let him leave. I poured into him, got him, back into the pilot. We took time as an assistant. We made things fun. He loved the people. So I love him. He walked my mom down the aisle and helped her to seat at my wedding. We kept him around. He's 30 years old, been in the business for 10 years. And so if you're a manager telling yourself, am I too old to get recruits on social media? Know that the best one in the company, directly reaching out and messaging people is 30 years old. And does not look like, what you would expect normally would get you a ton of just social media recruits. Caitlin is, somebody who was a CSP, but got back involved. And then Dylan is our pilot sales manager, and he's done just an amazing job at taking over a big organization and a lot of moving plates, a lot of spinning plates. And so who are your big three? And so if you had to create this big three right now, who would it be? Who's going to be your big three? And when in the NBA, they talk about the power of having the big three, whether it be the old school Celtics, LeBron and the Miami Heat, whether it be Jordan and the Bulls, there's always the ringleader, which is you, but then who are your next two? Who, if you had to say, my business imploded tomorrow, who would be the two people that you would start over with? And can you partner with them and challenge them to focus on the main thing? And what I mean by the main thing is, in the book, Gary Keller, he talks about what is the one thing that by doing that makes everything else either unnecessary or irrelevant, because you get that one thing right. Well, for us, that decision has been, PR setting, lead generation, right? In the real estate world, their one thing is lead generation. If they get that right, pretty much everything else kind of takes care of itself. Well, for us, it's PR setting. And if we get that right and we set those PRs, we're going to set, and that is our mission every single year. We're going to set more PRs than any other organization in the company, because we know if we get that right, we can screw up a lot of things. And sometimes, these three individuals, they don't love it when I talk about that all the time, but they've got to get their 20 set. Now, Don's summer, it's slightly different for Sean. But during the summer, Sean knows he's getting his 20 PRs, and he does it without me having to tell him now. Caitlin, no matter how busy she is, she gets her 20 PRs every week. Some weeks it's 30, some weeks it's 40, some weeks it's only 20. Dylan, gets his 20 as the pilot sales manager. They get their 20 no matter how busy. And so that means Saturday morning when day one PDI is coming and people just finished training, the pilot sales manager takes an hour and a half, steps away from taking PDI, has assistants answer the phone. And our districts do the same thing too, by the way. And they go to their number one launch. They call them up, say, hey, we know you started this many people. We're going to call those people. Who do you want to start with first? And they get their 5 PRs booked first thing Saturday morning, because they know if they get that done, they're going to get one more of that person launched out the door the next week. And if you start to look at the best recruiters across the country, you'll see that it's pretty much 1 every 5 people they set walks out the door. And so you start to think about what that can do over the course of a year. If every week you do that, that's 50, unbelievable launches that are created on a Saturday, right? By getting up and getting it done before the day gets going. And it's resonated now down through our branch class, our district manager class. One of our district managers on Saturday after Thanksgiving was on the boat with his family, and he took a picture of him docked at this little like sand barge or whatever, saying, hey, I know I'm chilling, but I had to get the business first. So he got his 5 PRs while he was on the pontoon boat, booking up before he partied the rest of the day with his family. And it was like, I've got to get this done because I know it's going to be one more badass in next week's training. And so you think about what that does, right? Let's just say all that happens is the manager themselves or the pilot manager, and then two more, right? But if they're getting 20 to 25 set per week, you do that times 50 weeks a year. You take 2 weeks off, right? That's 9 to 5 for you. You get 2 weeks. But but that becomes 1,000 plus PR set. And if you're launching one every 5, that's 200 to 250 stud PRs launched. You're getting your best people. You think about what that does. That's $500,000 in new business for you. Some of you guys have got amazing productivity. That could be $1 million in new business for you. But can you, no matter what, come hell or high water, get that done? And I think and when I show you the schedule, you're going to see there's a lot of other things on there that can get done. But again, what is the one thing that no matter what, if it gets done, makes everything else unimportant or unnecessary? This is it. Some of you guys are familiar with the 80-20 rule. Well, if you keep doing that, it's kind of crazy. This was like a stupid kind of math nerd problem that I did. It's like, so if you take 100 and you times 80-20, right? That means that your top 20% of your functions get you 80% of your business, right? So then you take 20% of that. That means 4% of your functions get you, let's see, 80% times 80% is 64% of your results. And then you take 20% of that, which is basically the top 1% of your functions, gets you 50% of your results. If you're wondering how in the world I did it, just take the math, right? So 80-20, you then take 80-20 again, that becomes 64, 4. You do that again, it's basically like 50. It's like 40 something and like 1, right? So it's like, hey, if you get that part right, you can screw up the other 50% of your business and you're still going to have a kick-ass business because you're taking that hour a day and getting your 5 PRs. And you're going to hear a lot of people on these master classes talk about all these really cool things that they're doing. Unfortunately, I had a staff meeting during Abramowitz's masterclass. I'm going to imagine Abramowitz probably blew the lid off of it with all the stuff he's got going on. I will tell you though, there's sometimes when I'm with Mike and he's showing me all this stuff, my head just starts spinning. I'm like, damn, dude, my head hurts just looking at this, and I'm like, I'd rather just get 5 PRs booked, because I know that if that gets done, everything else will make it happen. And so as you're learning all these new programs, don't forget the main thing. And then if you can get that instilled, check this out. What if, ready? What if you got 2 other people doing that with you? What if you just got 1? What if you and 1 other person personally launched 400 to 500 recruits next year? Because each of you got 20, 25 people set per week, and you were really freaking good at getting them set, really good at getting them to show, really good at converting them. What would your new business sales report look like next year? You can screw up a lot of stuff, but if you get those things right, you're going to be okay. With the messaging program, for us, it's simple. If you're an assistant manager, if you're an SMRA, every day you get 50 messages out. It's part of the day. It's how you start the day. It's how you start the shift. So when assistants log in for their shift, hey, first thing we do, guys, put up a post. Let's get 50 messages out. We'll put in some other stuff too, but that's where we start. Because again, it's lead generation. It's creating these baller touches of our best people. There's other better trainers, I'm sure, out there than I am. But I just know that when we get more people in front of me, we're going to get them launched, and they're going to recruit their buddies because they want to be a part of something fun too. So 50 messages out every single time. Massive manager set. This is a fun one. So this is one where this is my Abramowitz-esque craziness of a lot of numbers and things that you'll see, and it might be confusing at first, but hopefully as you look at it, you can unpack it. So this was our plan going into the summer. And every year we do this. And the reason I say every year we do this, if you probably go back and double check me, some of these dates are probably wrong because I don't even know exactly what like exact dates on the calendar they match up with. But I just know that after we finish our summer kickoff, so you can, these names of weeks are arbitrary. Just know once summer kickoff finishes, it's go time. So if you're in the Western region, your summer kickoff is like May or June. So it's go time, and if you can pull it back a week or two before, there's again, with our current business, there's nothing that says that you can't have summer recruiting or summer sales right now. Some of you guys were talking about that earlier. I think Hans was talking about that earlier. He's like, yeah, we sold more than we sold in our summers. Kyle was making moves with that, and he's, I think reshaping the thinking there out west of what can be done in new business year round.
Yeah, he just dropped another 39K a week new business.
Crazy.
Number one in the company.
Yeah. So again, and and again, you focus on what can be created at any time, and so it starts with, as you'll notice right here, the power of the big three. And I even lowball Sean because I don't know every year exactly what he's going to do, but what we plan on is that the pilot sales manager is getting theirs. I'm still going to get mine at the beginning. Most of these, by the way, are focused on getting them from assistant managers and top former reps, prep school reps usually, right? Caitlin's getting her numbers. Sean's getting his. We've got Spiker, who is kind of a lead AM, and you'll see all of our assistants are expected, once they're in the full swing of things, to get 15 set a week. And you'll see right here, this was candidates that we had for assistants, a new assistant, SMRAs, we had them listed. We had people that we already had kind of in for SMRAs, and then we knew there was going to be a bunch of other staff members getting the rest. And so we knew what we needed to get. We needed to hire 3 to 5 more. This got so big so quickly, recruiting got so strong that, like I said, we just kept scaling it. We just kept making it bigger and bigger and bigger. There's also how many you need to hold here. This is one of those things where when you change it, it adjusts the Excel spreadsheet. So once you type in how many you want set per person, it will adjust based on how many names you need to hold for that person. And what we do here is we figured you need to hold 5 names per AM schedule. You need to hold 10 names per SMRA schedule.
Trey, is this a document that we could throw into the resources folder?
So when I emailed you today.
Okay, I got that one in there already then.
Yeah.
A couple questions from the chat. One is from Josh Thayer asking, for your AMs, if they've already gone through their own personal networks to message, do you just have them target the best potential people in the area on Instagram / Facebook? Or is there anything off the board that's not in the question that you're doing?
So yes. So once they've messaged everybody that they're following, every time they message, they also add. And I guess that's something that mattered a lot more during Facebook time than Instagram time. But yes, we send and add, or we send and follow. We don't, we try not to message. And again, it's hard to make sure it's 100% happening this way. There's some accountability concerns sometimes with this, but we don't like to message people that we're not also following, just because it goes into that separate folder on Instagram. And so we want to follow them first and then send. I know there's different schools of thought. Like, do you follow them? Do you like a bunch of their photos? Do you comment on a bunch of their photos? I love John Kane. I love, Trent Booth. I don't comment on any single one of their Instagram photos. I like it, but I don't comment. So I think that sometimes the thought of, you got to engage with them. I mean, not really, but you do need to follow them and like a photo, or follow them and send, right. Honestly, I think it's kind of creepy sometimes if all of a sudden I start getting the random comments. I don't get that many comments from most people when I post something. So I see something out of the blue with a thumbs up or a cool dude, I'm like, what is this? So you do need to follow and then send. So as they're adding, they're sending, and we have a schools document. I thought it was. Is it not on the? Yeah, I think it might be on a different document. I'll pull it up. But I've got a top schools list where I've taken every single high school and college in my territory and listed out top reps so that it can be name dropped on phone calls. It can be name dropped on interviews. It can be name dropped in training. I'm going to know those kids from those schools, but a lot of times a new assistant won't, or
Mm-hmm.
a social media recruiting assistant won't. And so we have that top schools list that we can give to people as assistants where they can just name drop them.
Trey,
Uh,
if I could, I just want to go back for a second. I think you're implying something here. I just want to make sure everybody's catching it if it is the case. So when Josh is saying, hey, if they've already gone through their own personal networks to message, I
yeah.
heard you say, hey, they're continually adding new people
Yeah. They're adding
from
new
those
people
schools, right?
always. They're adding new people always. They're going into different schools that we haven't been in a bit. Maybe a school that we've kind of fallen out of.
Mm-hmm.
We'll say, hey, we haven't got anybody from this school. I've got these are different. By the way, these are different managers. Like a pillar, for example, Darren's an assistant division manager. We had kind of a plan for him.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a plan for a new district manager. Got a plan for a branch. And what I always do is I always challenge my big thinkers to go a level up. So for example, I'm meeting with Emmanuel. I'm gonna say, E-man, here's what Darren's doing, just so you can see. So I know you don't have the staff Darren has right this minute, but can you get there? How quickly can you get there? I did that with Anthony Hernandez, and he's a trip. He's like F that dude. I'm going after Darren. I'm like, all right, cool, go. Whatever. That's what he did, and so he's going to do 300 and I don't know $350,000 this year, after last summer as a branch only doing 50 grand
Hmm.
because he was thinking bigger and he got on this program. Um, so again, how big are you thinking and how big can you scale it? And it's got some RA hours or that are in there for you if you're wanting to like build it out and plan on how many it's going to take, but quite honestly, we'll probably spend a decent little chunk of time talking about the RA program here, but that's just been a game changer for us to scale this thing bigger than we ever thought possible. And I'll say many of my SMRAs are more of an assistant manager than my current assistant managers are.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They understand more about the business,
Hmm.
than some of my AMs who just sold a lot that we're trying to get them to start calling PRs. I mean, they know how to message, they know how to recruit, they know how to call and schedule people properly. They are going to eventually know how to interview. So
Wow.
there's some cool concepts there.
We've got Adam Mundy asking, um, how do you disperse the SM responses between the SMRAs and the AMs? Is it evenly or is it only in their own network? I'm not sure if you have a thought there. I'm not sure I'm following that question, but does it make sense to you?
I think so. Meaning, I'm assuming people that respond favorably, wanting more information to get scheduled for an interview.
He's
So,
nodding yes.
so
Yeah.
what we do, we have an SMRA WhatsApp chat, and every time they collect a number, they throw that in the chat. And then if somebody and the people that are new, they know not to call them. People that are veteran, it's like crack, like it gets dropped there, and they, because they're used to calling lists, they're used to calling things. So when they find like a fresh lead, and it's like, oh man, this is perfect. It's like, piranhas on food that've been thrown in the water. Like they jump on it, like somebody will swipe right and got it, and they'll call them immediately and they'll book them. For assistant managers, kind of the same thing. They'll share them with each other, and they'll book each other's. And then eventually they get smart enough to realize, wait a minute, I can get my 5 much quicker if I just call and schedule the people that are interested. And so after they've got the hang and the confidence to call PRs, which is usually about the time they stop messaging their own friends, if somebody is interested, they'll just personally call them and schedule them. So somebody responds back with, hey, yeah, want more info. It's like, here, well, let me get 5 minutes and I'll call you. And then they'll call them and schedule them for an interview. Jared asked, how are you launching a high percentage of such large numbers in training? It's a good question. There's a couple things that I think help. One is simplicity in training. The less complicated you can make things, the better. If people are confused, they're overwhelmed, and that's what leads people not to launch. So We do run a very simple training. It's, and I don't think the hours matter, so don't go changing your hours, but we run 5.5 hour days of training on a Thursday and a Friday. And we're really intentional about when we give breaks, making sure that the breaks are fun. We've got music kind of going. We're connecting with people in the chat when we get back from break. So I'm asking people what they're eating and what kind of snacks they're doing. We're during the phone jam, we're making it fun. We've got music happening. We're doing the PCs during the phone jam. And the other thing is our staff knows there's a super big paranoia if somebody doesn't get at least 5 demos booked during that day one phone jam. If they're not getting at least 5 booked, we pretty much don't even count them as launching. If they show up the next day, obviously we'll launch them, but like that's like the Mendoza line. So we had a representative who sold like $1,500 last weekend, but she only booked like 3 on day one. And so my pilot sales manager, who's a new one over winter break, he reached out and he's like, hey, this person's gonna crush it. I'm like, I don't think she's launching. And he's like, no, I mean, no way. She was fired up. I said, she's got 3 demos. So if she doesn't get to 5 by the end of the night, I'm worried about whether or not she's going to launch. And so he's like, well, hold on. So he like called her real quick, just like, hey, I know you probably had a couple people. If they call you back tonight, you can book them. If there's anybody else, like you talk to mom and she knows people that want to book, you can book them. And so she ended up coming into day 2 of training with 6 booked up. And she got a couple more. And so she was fine. But there is like a healthy paranoia about making sure that everybody gets at least 5 demos booked up. The other thing that I feel, and again, don't change your training without talking to your division manager, because this is where it gets kind of tough. We don't go over prices on day one. Your division might, but I do know that there are several divisions, Herman included, that used to go over value on day one of training, and he shifted it to day 2, and his launch percentage should go up slightly. In my opinion, the 2 big reasons why people don't launch: fear of the phone, fear of the price of Cutco. If that is all happening, and that's what was happening in many organizations, is they were literally crammed back to back. So it's like a 1-2 punch of reasons why people don't launch, that people are having to get through the gauntlet to then get through. And so we did make that adjustment, and we did that years ago. We did that with Flynn when we did that test group. We talked about how the ideal scenario would be make it be about the basics on day 1, getting appointments booked, scheduling, and then day 2 is a lot of the psychology and the value stuff. And when we made that shift, our launch was great. When we were in person, we were at 90% launched. And over the summer, when I was running all the trainings, we were at 80% launch during the summer. So that does help. I think maybe 79% or something like that. So when you've got these big groups, it does help when you've got people having fun, making sure they're getting a lot of demos, and just make it be about that on day 1. Day 2 is about the value and pricing. It helps. How many AMs do I have throughout the day? It's me plus 1 usually. During the big seminars, it would be me plus 2. Um, so we do teach how to screen share in training. We promote doing screen sharing, but then we also tell them, look, there's 3 ways you can do demos. You can do in person with like mom and dad, or the grandma if they're cool. You screen share. And if somebody's a technological goof, you just, have them go on their website, you go on your website, you walk them through it on speakerphone. But the other thing that we did on day 2 that really helped with that is we finish out training with a demo review, where they actually do go into breakouts. So training is pretty much over. We put them into breakouts and they practice the full presentation start to finish. And as managers, we're kind of popping in, making sure everybody knows how to screen share, making sure people are feeling good, and then helping them with that process. So there's some tie in there. And yes, we do have some people that launch from training and then they fall off by the end of day 2. So I don't think that this shouldn't be like, oh, do you ever lose people? We do lose people. I mean, we'll have some that will launch that. It's not a lot. It's not a high percentage, but we do have some that, they fall off at some point on day 2. But that does, I mean, I think make a difference, giving them time to practice it at the end. Any other questions before I keep rolling?
I think you're getting them as we go, brother. Thanks for reading those.
No problem. With regards to this massive staff set, I think, here's kind of the schedule that we use that helps to kind of make things streamlined. And this again has been shared with you, but this is for a new district organization. And when in our branch office, if somebody is a veteran, the only thing that I would adjust is just add an additional interview Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. If you've got dual function, also add or dual function. Everybody has it now. Old vector. If you've got additional assistants or staffing, you can throw an additional interview on Thursday and Friday. In our pilot, we run 1 on Sunday, 3 on Monday, 3 on Tuesday, 3 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday during the summer. Right now, we're running 1 on Sunday, 3 on Monday, 3 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday. This is winter break time, so we're recruiting big. So, or at least that's the plan that we'll get to once everybody's out of finals. So here is kind of the traditional drill on a Sunday. It's just kind of outgoing, kind of planning. If SMRA training is happening divisionally, you could do it whenever the divisional SMRA training is. But for us, we were promoting this past summer doing it 11 to 2. If I'm being honest, a lot of our district managers didn't want to get up earlier on Sunday like that, or they had church, so they would move that to either Saturday or Friday, even Friday in the morning. But or if they had big staffing, they could do Tuesday. But this is again somebody by themselves just getting started running it. We have a SMRA kickoff meeting, and that kickoff meeting is with everybody. So it's with assistants, it's with SMRAs, everybody's logging in. As you'll see there, the first couple of hours are all about social media work and scheduling 5+ PRs. Then outgoing to first weekend team, and then we have paycheck meetings Sunday evening. On Monday, we have kind of an all manager call as a district or as a division. Champions Club, which is basically fast start, high flyer workshops. PDI in the morning, we have advanced training 10 to 2. We did that divisionally. So again, another cool perk of going virtual is that can all be done at once. And so as AT is being run, our district managers were booking their PRs. They were sending heads up text messages. The reps, we do a contest at the beginning of advanced training where we have all of our reps send out heads up text messages to their PRs they recommended. So like yesterday in the pilot, we had, looks like, I don't know, somewhere like 70 or 80 people get a heads up text message that they recommended for the job that then our assistant managers are going to be calling today to schedule for interviews. Grant, my pilot sales manager, he booked up a few yesterday. So we still have a lot to get through there to schedule. I think we're at 140 PR set for the week so far. But the goal is to get to 300 by Thursday night. We're running training next Tuesday, Thursday. So, or next Tuesday, Wednesday, sorry. This right here, interviews, boom, boom, and kind of just finishing outgoing as it's going through. The interviews themselves, we do feel that unless you're trying to sign more than like 10 or 15 at a time, it can be handled by one person. I know sometimes that comment does come up with that many people that you're recruiting. How many are you signing? I personally believe you're going to get a better show if you're the one personally talking to them and skying them. But yeah, we'll go all out with 3 people signing people if we've got like 40 in the group interview or 30 in the group interview. Once you get above 10 signing, we bring in a second person to sign. If you get above 20, we bring in a third person to sign people. And it's again easy when we're virtual because people can be anywhere. and signing people. On Tuesday's big time for PDI, coaching calls, driving attendance to the team meeting. And then you'll see there's SMRA interviews already built into the schedule there. And so that is a every single week program. I feel like you can never have too many SMRAs advertising for you, even if you're only paying them for 5 hours. I mean, that's $50 to have. I mean, I think all of you would pay $50 to get 5 or 10 recruits, and you literally only need 2 recruits with rebates to pay for itself. And if you get a social media recruiter to put up a post, send out 50 messages a couple times a week, you're going to get at least 2 recruits from that. So any sales they happen to have from their recruits are profit. They pay for themselves with launches. Wednesday is again recruiting, training. We don't do training confirmation calls. That was in the schedule before the summer. We just do text message for that. Training confirmation calls take forever, so we just send out a text. When you have 200 people set for training, it's hard to have that many calls, so we don't bother with that. We just send a text. Team
Trey,
meeting.
you've got Champions Club listed each of those days, 8 to 8:30. Is it the same workshops every week, just rotating, or?
So yes, same workshops every week, just rotates who's in it, right? And so it's Monday is usually that's actually the finish to their fast start, not the beginning of their fast start, but that's kind of the finishing strong, setting things up for success on the regular job. Tuesday is usually goal sharing. Tuesday is recommendations, Wednesday's phoning, Thursday's closing, Friday is accessories slash like cookware and
That's cool.
flatware. And then Monday is goal sharing slash scholarship, right? Because they're finishing their fast start. So now it's launching the regular part of the job.
And then after that, do they continue to go to those, or is it optional for the Champions Club?
Yeah, we're going to we continue to run those every single week, and we'll have repeats that come in there. And what we're looking at doing now this upcoming summer, because of virtual, we're going to have breakouts. So everybody logs in divisionally for the Fast Start High Flyer Workshop. It's like, hey, if you're a vet, raise your hand. Cool. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to put you in this breakout with E-Man. We're going to put you in this breakout with Jordan. She's going to talk about high-level phone skills. We're going to put you in this breakout with Darren, and he's going to do next-level recommendations. Or Anthony's going to talk about using Facebook to book up appointments. We're going to start doing more veteran, workshops every week too during the summer. All right. Any questions on the schedule there? But as you'll notice, there is time protected Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to get 5 PRs booked. It's the most important thing each and every single day. During the non-summer, before 1 o'clock, those are kind of the main functions right now for our districts, are to get social media recruiting assistant messages out. So they're constantly messaging for that. Getting 5 PRs booked and making sure their assistants are on top of their tasks for the day. With assistant managers, their schedule is everybody's in Sunday and Wednesday, and they're mimicking the same schedule from 2 to basically 9, which is messages out, PRs booking up 5 demos personally and working with their team. So it's the exact same schedule. And actually here, if you look, I've got it at the bottom of the calendar as well. Here it is. So if you look at the bottom here, you'll kind of see how we've got that set up. So Sunday and Wednesday, pretty much the exact same schedule for them. So they get kind of welcome. If there's a meeting or a staff meeting or something there from 3 to 4, they're sending messages, adding people. 4 to 6, they're booking 5 PRs. 6:30, they're helping with team meetings, sign in, and paycheck meetings, sign ins. And then 6:30 to 9, they're booking their 5 demos. So it's very easy for somebody who's an assistant manager, as a part-timer at least, to know what to do during their shifts. So we're not having to spending a lot of time like, hey, do this now. Okay, now switch and do this. Like, it's just, here's what you're doing. This is the expectations. This is kind of an office day non-summer, what they're supposed to be doing typically. And then we've got some expectations there. You're muted, Trent. I don't know if you.
This is so great, man. This just makes it easy to follow and just knowing exactly what to do.
Yeah. So, and what's cool about this, guys, is it enables you, once you have it, to just bring new assistants in. Somebody doesn't have to have sold a ton of Cutco to be an assistant manager in our organizations, because their roles are very, very simple. If we're thinking about functions that we have them do, the first thing we have them do is sell. Always, anytime, and there's forced accountability to assistants. Our assistants are our top sales reps in our organization. And I don't know if you were paying attention during SLC, but our pilot, Paige Weber, Danny Lewis, their assistants and their PRs represented a massive chunk of business for their organization. And so it's more important than ever that you're keeping those assistants selling consistently, because if they're selling consistently, they're getting those big paychecks. It means they're promoting authentically. What they're doing is they're messaging people, and they don't need somebody, right? They don't need the assistant manager pay to support themselves. That AM pay is now funding their startup, funding their branch next year. And so it's all additive. And then once somebody can book up demos consistently and sell, the next thing is send out messages on social media. The next thing is schedule PRs. The fourth thing is run an effective interview. And then the fifth thing is be able to do PDI/proctor a training. And if you can kind of birth them into the business as assistant managers that way, that's all our branches, our first year offices need to do either. They need to know how to send messages. They need to know how to schedule people. They need to run a decent interview. They need to know how to proctor training, and then they need to know how to coach people to sell, and of course get people to an event. I guess that's the other last thing. But again, those are the simple things. If we call them out the focus 5 for our new first year managers, that's what we tell them to focus on.
I missed one of those, Trey. I've got selling. Right. And then they start messaging social media people, and then they start scheduling PRs. And what's the fourth one there?
You talking about assistant managers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's selling, message people, schedule people for interviews, run effective interview, proctor training / be able to be good at coaching calls. As far as what we're promoting to our branch class and our new offices, this is it. I mean, if somebody wants to branch in our division next summer, it's got my other slides, so it's adjusted. So here we go. There you go. So focus 5 for success. So first year team, this is what they need to be good at. They need to be good at talent corralling, sending messages, fire set, personal set, SMRA program, interview excellent, and event-to-event management. So that's if somebody's a brand new branch is what they need to be good at. Brand new district is what they need to be good at. If somebody is a veteran, fundamentals of year one, it always goes back to being good at the fundamentals, blocking and tackling, massive stat set. So still getting everybody there, developing their assistant managers to be future branches and leaders, training execution. So most of our first year offices won't run their own training this summer. They'll partner up with a veteran district. And then as they become a senior branch, a veteran district, pillar district, I know that some divisions are promoting divisional training. Hey, feel free. I personally don't love that. If you're a district manager, you didn't sign up to be a glorified assistant. You signed up to be the boss. And it's one of the reasons why we love being district managers. We do our thing. So I think it's a great idea to start with divisional stuff, but then really focus on honing your craft so you can be the boss. And then you can do that for your branch candidates that are going out.
I think from a scalability too, Trey, I mean, if you've got 100 for just the pilot in, you having even a few other offices in Georgia, you've got several hundred people on Zoom all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, well, we had 400 people in one of our trainings day one, and that was
400.
that was the moment where it was like, all right,
Nope.
this is happening. Sorry.
Now, also in your division, you've got, veteran DMs, you've got an ADVM, you've got people that, if you're Darren Gardner, he wants to run training, I bet.
Yeah, he does, and he also wants to join in sometimes, and that's what's
Yeah.
kind of funny is there are some times where it's like, hey, I shit the bed with this function this week. Can I hop in with you? It's like, sure, let's hop in. Let's partner together. Or one of our newer districts is like, I'm never going to do this, and then has a rough training. It's like, hey, can I put my people into your day two, and I join you for this part? It's like, hey, no problem. So it's nice to have that ability, but yeah, that's kind of where we are. So.
I love that you already gave the disclosure for me, right? That is no changes without talking to your DVM. You could be the one that brings us to your DVM, but no changes.
Please don't.
Without consulting your
say,
DVM.
Trey said, like,
Trey said I should run my own training.
There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than
making friends and influencing people in the DVM ranks.
And ready, here's the thing. Get your damn PR set and then do whatever the heck you want. Because if you don't do that, it doesn't matter how many people or what function you're doing, what program you're running. You can have great PPR and you can get a lot of touches with your development if you launch one person. You can spend 8 hours a day on training and on Zoom with that one person in between demos. Like, hey, if you got one person, you can go on the demo with them. Hey, your first weekend, you got 10 demos. I got nothing else to do. I'm going to watch every single one of your demos today. You could do the demos for them, but if you want to start implementing something, I would say partner with your DVM, partner with them, bring stuff to them, try things with them, because that's what makes it fun is when you guys are partnering together. I mean, most of the programs that we now are considering to be national programs started with probably a district manager or a pilot sales manager or a branch manager partnering with their DVM saying, hey, let's make a program out of this. This whole SMRA program, which Jeff crushed.
Jeff Gamboa. Yeah.
He crushed it. Yeah. It started with Ben Jackson and I saying, just kind of talking in theory. And I noticed that every time my wife and I took a photo together, she'd get a bunch of hey girl messages. And I was like, what the hell is this? Like, what are these like messages that are coming in? I talk about it during my SMRA training. I say, hey, you guys ever get hey girl messages? And they're like, yeah. And it's just like, hey, great. Love your style. Let's collab. And I was like, and I always say, I never really got many of those, which I kind of felt a little shameful. I need to step up my game, lose some weight or something. But I would get them, or she would get them. And so I was like, well, what is the deal with this? And he's like, she's like, well, it's just people giving away stuff or giving discounts. And I'm like, why don't we make this a friggin' program where this could be something powerful, something that builds a resume. And then I started talking to one of my friends whose wife is now the senior VP for Kraft Heinz. I mean, she's crushing it. Big time crushing it. She was the vice president of recruiting for Red Bull, but it started as an ambassador. She was University of Florida passing out cans of Red Bull, getting the word out about Red Bull. And then she parlayed it into human resource recruiting position and then kept growing, kept building, kept getting better. And then boom, now, he's working for Apple. She's working for her Kraft Heinz as a VP. And it started with this ambassador role. So I said, why don't we make this thing something really freaking cool where we pay them hourly, we give them some bonuses, we give them some autonomy, we let them foster in their creativity. And since we've done this, we've had some of our social media recruiting assistants go on to, one of them is now like doing all the marketing for several boutiques in her college town. One of them has now got this whole online Instagram monetization business where she's selling a training program, making great money. Her boyfriend is, he's crushing it. He's doing credit solutions she's doing trainings for credit solutions, doing a lot of the things that we teach, which is simple, just getting the word out, posting cool content and following up. And so
I think it would be important to also mention here, Trey, that Ben started with you. In fact, at one point, wasn't he your pilot manager?
Yeah, I trained him when he couldn't read. he could barely, he had a hard time formulating sentences. And then after being in my training seminar for 3 days and 25 hours, he figured out those things. And he
So
was a
he
special.
went from
He was,
eating
yeah,
lunch out of the dumpster to a Hall of Fame district manager. That's a
he,
division manager now, right?
but Ben was a rep, assistant, two-time branch, PSM, and then now stud DVM.
Yeah.
But again, that started like that. Advanced Training One, the old school phone switch. I don't know if you guys remember phone switch
No,
back in the
that's
day.
before most of these
Oh
guys.
man, it was so
I don't even
glorious.
know. I don't even know if they want to hear it. This is
Oh,
just
you
so
got to hear it.
bad.
It's so good, so good. So what would happen when people? So we're sitting there, and we're trying to get a bunch of PR set, and people weren't picking up their damn phones. So Ben and I are sitting there. He's sitting across the desk from me, and I'm like, we got to do something about getting more PR set. We need to make a run today. We got all these people showing up for advanced training. We need to do something. He's like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, well, maybe we have them just write down everybody we want them to call. And I was like, well, what if we just took their phones when they got to advanced training? And he's like,
Jason Flynn's laughing, dude.
he's like, do you think we could do that? I'm like, sure. Just say, hey, we're going to be calling some of these people. And so that's what happened. So people literally showed up.
We took their phone.
Ben
We
had
made
a
calls
basket.
to their friends.
Yeah, it was called Phone Switch. It was awesome. So we would promote it at the beginning of advanced training. We would tell people, it's like, hey guys, look, here's the deal. You guys recommended 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 people or whatever it was. But we only booked up like 200 of them so far. And you recommended 5,000. So a lot of people just aren't answering numbers they don't recognize. Are any of you guys like that? They all raise their hand. It's like, cool. So here's what we're going to do. If we call them from your phone, they're going to pick up. So Ben's just going to go through, he's going to collect the phones and we're going to call them from your phones. Some of you guys probably have passwords. Just let them know the password. They'll take care of it. And
Wait, so you not only had a bucket of phones, you had them put like a sticky note with their passcode on their phone.
He would come in with a stack of phones with sticky notes and passcodes on them. And we saw some inappropriate stuff, like people are getting photos back and all. It was wild. This was before the days of TikTok and Snapchat, but man, it was awesome. And that's what they would do. They'd come into advanced training, they'd drop their phones, and then
sounds wildly nefarious. How did that not catch on across the company, dude?
John's in a meeting right now. John's in a meeting right now. He's working, but he told me to call you, so I'm talking to you from his phone. Right?
By the way, this is 10 years ago, so just in case you're watching this or listening to the replay, we are not recommending phone switch. Is everybody clear on that one?
You can't do it anymore.
I disavow it completely.
Can't do it. We're virtual.
It is wildly. Yeah, it's also true. Yeah.
Now
Dude, save us from ourselves. That's good. We have a question here from Jesse Fiddler up in Canada and wondering, what do you do for your SMRA program to have them learn more and develop? How do you advance the plot for SMRAs?
So good question. So the first thing, guys, and when you're working with your SMRAs, they're not fucking secretaries. And I think that sometimes people fall into this trap of viewing them as like your employees that are like, doing like here, do this for me. No, these are your partners. These people are, quite possibly the most influential people in your organization. And so with them, you are partnering with them, you're fostering that creativity. If they've got the number of followers they've got, they are way better at doing what they do with social media than you will probably ever be. For example, in my Zoom right now, Anna Gray, she's got like 60,000 followers. She is way better at anything Instagram related than I would ever be. And so rather than saying, hey, here's a crappy little post that I came up with, use it, we're like, hey, why don't you be creative? And so I do a brainstorming session with them during training where it's like, hey, what attracts people to a job? What would you be excited about? Like, what drew you to this job? What are you excited about? What do people look for that are your age in a work environment? And they come up with a big roll down. And what's funny is they come up with like 15, 20, 30 ideas. It's like, hey, what do you think the most important ones are? And it always goes back to pay, flexibility, income or experience and some version of like advancement or opportunity, right? And so those are the ones. But if you just say, hey, this is what people care about, it it works, and they'll do it. And sometimes, quite honestly, a month or two down the road, after they've been working for a while, they're like, please just give me something to post. They don't want to keep thinking of stuff. But when you allow them that creativity, you'll be amazed at some of the cool stuff that they come up with on their own,
Hmm.
and enables you to be able to have his posts. And so a lot of things that we've done have sometimes been by accident. Like we didn't even know about the swipe up to apply feature at first. And it is kind of fun sometimes when you're running train. It's like, hey, if you have over 10,000 followers, you can just do swipe up to apply, and you see like the the shoulders slump for the people that don't have that many, and they're like, oh man, really? And so then the SMRAs that have that many, they're swiping up and they're getting 40, 50 Google Forms on a post. But it is pretty cool. And so we empower them. We do a 6-month pay raise promotion. We give bonuses. We give shift. There's a shift leader position where they get an extra 50 cents if they're the shift leader per hour that they're working. If they're leading the shift, like they're kind of answering questions, field training people, like with newer SMRAs, we'll have them go into a breakout room with somebody who's more veteran and listen to them for an hour. People will ask them questions directly. If somebody's asking for a question and Caitlin's managing the shift or I'm managing the shift, I'll direct them to people that are more veterans. But yeah, it's fun, man. I mean, we've got, like I said, we've got probably 25, I think we have 25 SMRAs on staff right now. We only lost one from the summer, during the summer, where she just didn't feel comfortable doing it. And then we had people that went part-time. We had people that are taking a hiatus, but
Sure.
many of them we've reached back out to when things are crazy. It's like, hey, do you want to get a couple extra hours this week? And they're like, yeah, sure, I'd love to. And what's great is if they don't want to, there's no hard feelings.
Sure.
It's like, because we don't need them per se, but
Mm-hmm.
we want as many hours as humanly possible with the advertising part of it.
I think it'd be important, Trey, for us to just put an exclamation point on the concept of treating them as biz partners, right? Not assistants, business partners here. What a big difference, man. When you treat them like that and shift that, and kind of elevate their role and how important it is. When you ask them their opinion, when you're like, what do you think? And then not just ask them, but you use it and utilize their creative ideas. I mean, what a great way to affirm them. What a great way to celebrate them, and it shifts the conversation significantly. So I think this is a really good point that if we're going to call them ambassadors, they should feel celebrated, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're recruiting assistants. I mean, they are assistant managers in our organization. I mean, they play an integral part of our. I mean, it's such a big deal that Caitlin, who was the best recruiter in my office, her energy has been focused now towards managing this for our office and for our division.
Sure. And that doesn't mean that you're hands off with that. It sounds like somebody's driving that daily, but you are very hands on with that SMRA team, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I was logged in with them right while before this. Like I was having a vision call with one of my DMs, and so they all logged into my Zoom. I introduced them to my district manager. I think there's 12 girls on shift today. And so they all came in. We said, hey, asked them how they were doing, did a little powwow, introduced them to Manuel, and then I put them in a breakout room, and Ina Grace is managing them right now. But as soon as we get done here, I'm going to check
right back.
Caitlin's working at the mall today. So
Yeah.
Normally she would do that, but she's running one of the kiosks today.
She's jamming. I mean, I just love that. I love that this is something that it's been a theme actually running all fall here with the Masterclass. I think it would surprise a lot of us that people who could delegate and walk away from this are not. In fact, without any exception, every single successful Masterclass owner here has been diving into whatever their one program is. They're not handing it off. They're driving it personally and putting a lot of energy into these things. Trey, I want to respect your time because I know it's been 90 minutes here, and this is the first available Tuesday that you've had that you could dedicate to us.
Yeah.
With just a few moments here, is there anything else that you're thinking about that if you didn't share or get a chance to get it kind of off your chest today for Team Vector, what else would that be?
Um, let's see here. I mean, I think we hit on a lot of the stuff. I mean, but I will say that the other thing is just constantly looking for ways that you can develop these organizations that you're recruiting into the next level is a big focus. I mean, if you're focusing on constantly developing the people that you're recruiting, the sales will happen. I mean, the sales will naturally occur. So, in each of our district organizations, it's hey, you're recruiting and then you're developing. You're recruiting and then you're developing. And we don't obsess about the individual sales report on a daily basis. We focus on procedures, and then the sales report grows because of that. So, but yeah, that's all I've got. Hopefully, you got some value out of it, and the documents that we share there can help you. But
Trey, I'm just grinning ear to ear because it might be the least amount I've spoken on a masterclass so far. It was just so great to have you go off here. I could listen to you all day. Again, we really appreciate you making the time for this and investing into the Vector community. I just want to celebrate the National Sales Report, which came out today, by the way. It's December 8th, 2020. $4.838 million sales report this week is 76% up over last year. So last year we did 2.7. This year it's $4.8 million. There's never been a better time to be selling Cutco. Last year, number one would have been 834. Southwest posted a 1.292, which I know is you guys are trying to run them down in the eastern region there. They widened that gap just a little bit. And western region was number two this week. In fact, they would have been number one over last year's number with a report of 849K. Congratulations, Dan Cassetta and team. That is outstanding. Listen to Midwest. They did last year 283. This year 728. They're up 157% on the year. Central killing it as well, up 76, and Northeast up 125%. Folks, across the board, things are just banging. So thank you again, Trey Ketcham, hosting our 12th Masterclass. We're looking forward to next week, Kathy Kristen, for lucky number 13. Have an awesome week, everybody. I'm going to stick around. I'm going to hit stop on the recording. Boom. Just like that. Stop recording. Stop.